Hey everybody, Casual here. So I have a couple things before I actually go ahead and start the video and everything. This is going to be episode 1 of a new series that I'm doing, but we'll get to that in just a moment. Very first things I want to hit on is that I am doing a giveaway. If you want to know more about it, you can either go ahead and click that little link I'm going to put somewhere right over there to go ahead and get to the end of the video where it has the full description of exactly what I'm doing about a giveaway. It's going to be a Halloween themed loot crate. It's going to be a Sylvanas vinyl, BNet gift card, and a Razor Chroma. So there'll be more information on that at the end of the video. And then secondly, I want to let you guys know why I haven't been posting that much lately. I do live in Charleston area, and we did just have to experience this whole Hurricane Matthew thing. I planned on having this video out like almost a week ago, but my power's been out for like 5 days and everything, so sorry about all that, but we are here today to bring you the first ever episode of the Fun Decks to Legend, Fun Cheap Decks to Legend. I don't necessarily know exactly what I'm going to be calling it yet, but essentially what it is, it's going to be fun decks that I love playing, because I love playing OTK decks, I love playing combo decks, just fun, interesting, out of the normal decks, and I love actually taking them to Legend. And so last month, despite all the intricacies I've been having with power issues and internet issues, I did manage to climb to about 700 ranked Legend, with a new fun deck that I'm going to be bringing to you guys. So what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be having a showcasing of Discolock. So what is Discolock? Essentially, Discolock is going to be a deck centered off of Discard Lock. I don't know if I actually came with that name, I just kind of thought it was funny. It's probably been tossed around before. But essentially it's just all the discard mechanics that are in the Warlock class and actually making use out of it. And I feel like actually what a lot of people don't understand is how bursty this deck can be. I think a lot of people are trying to play it as the standard zoo and not actually as the aggressor that it is. It's not a mid-range or a tempo deck or even fighting for board control. This is a aggro deck coming right out of the bat. You are trying to kill this person on turn 5 with Doom cards. So essentially we're going to go ahead and jump right into the deck list and everything, so that way you guys can actually see what I'm looking at. So this will be the deck list that I have up for you. So you can see very first card, Flame Up. It's going to be very, very aggressive. Malkalar's Imps is like the staple to this deck. The reason why this deck is great now, not great, but good now, is that every time you discard a card, you draw a card, which is amazing. You can't really get over the fact that when you're discarding card in Warlock, you're usually getting that back by tapping. This way you don't necessarily have to get that back by tapping. Same thing with the Darkshire Librarian and everything. It's Death Rattle, you draw a card, it's Battle Cry, you discard a card. So you're cycling it back continually. And then so we always had the previous things like Succubus, an amazing 4/3 for a 2-drop. We're almost at the Shaman level of broken here, of amazing 2-drops, and that still has its drawback of discarding a card. But then we started adding in things like Tiny Knight of Evil. I'm still kind of experimenting with, just being honest. And then Silver War Golem that get benefits from being discarded, and Fist of Drax that get benefits from being discarded. I have Dark Peddler in here, so you can potentially just get some random 1-drop that you may not need, like the 0/1 Imp that gives you +1 health at the end of the turn. That could possibly get discarded. You just basically fill your hand with discards. So essentially the way this deck really does work is at turn 1 you try coming out the gates really, really strong with Flame Imp, Malkazar's Imps, to the Succubus and to Silver War Golem, and by turn 4 you're having 3 2s, 1 3s, 4 3s, 3 3s, 3 3s, just all on the board and just doing amounts of damage. And then you get your board control by using Soulfire and hopefully getting lucky rolls. It is RNG based to actually destroy certain things. I'll go ahead and get to the matchups real quick. I just wanted to go ahead and show you guys a full list of the actual win rates that I had on the last week, or last day that I did it. Essentially what happened is actually I played this, I lost this game, I took a break, and then my internet kicked out again. But essentially I got 690 Legend, and then I played 2 more games, and I tweeted this picture out of to my Twitter. I ended at 686. For the month on that deck. I gave up. I didn't want to climb to top 100 Legend. It was really, really fun. I don't think it has potential to do top 100 Legend, but to sit at 686 was an achievement for me with this deck and everything. The full win rate right there for that day. Sadly, I don't have a lot of the win rates because I was playing on my phone and I've been having internet problems and everything, but this is the win rate that I did have for that day, a 74% win rate out of, 30-something games. It's pretty nice. I actually did like it and everything. So that's where that came up to, and it was pretty fun. But like I said, essentially it's just you're going really, really aggressive, and you're just hoping to go ahead and kill them with Doomguard come turn 5, maybe discarding a Fist of Jaraxxus and hitting something, clearing the board, and just going face and pushing damage, tapping to get damage, discarding to get damage. That's your goal, is to try to kill them before turn 5, and it can typically work, just being honest. Alright, and so then after that, we're going to go ahead and bring up the matchups. So essentially, these are going to be the matchups. You have favorite and then the unfavored. So on the favorite side, you're going to have like Zoo, Token Druid, Aggro Warrior, Miracle Rogue, Aggro Paladin, Reno Warlock, Mid-Range Hunter, and then Tempo Warrior, which I kind of put Dragon Warrior under that. I'm just kind of putting generalized names on this. Kind of like on the unfavored, I'll have Ramp, which because of the nerfs, we're actually seeing Cthulhu Druid coming back. And we're seeing the stereotypical Ramp Druid coming back, which where those two are both centered from. Control Warrior will include Cthulhu Warrior and like a Fatigue Warrior I've been seeing lately. All Priest, obviously. Priest is actually a pretty hard matchup for us. Yes, the Priest class is pretty bad, and if they don't have answers for us, we can pretty much steamroll them. But just the way Priest is, if they can get to mid-game, we're screwed. I mean, they have really, really strong healing mechanics after turn 5 of clearing our board. Just some really lucky rolls on their part and bad rolls on our part, they can easily win the game. Control Paladin, like so Anyfin, N'Zoth, Mid-Range Shaman, Aggro Shaman, Tempo and Freeze Mage, and then OTK Warrior. And so with all this being said, you're probably looking at like, yeah, we have more unfavored than we have favored. But it's just more or less the purpose. The reason why this deck works is because we're playing the ladder. So essentially, what you're getting is, yes, all these matchups are essentially there, and they are on ladder somewhat, but as you can see from like my stats and everything, I didn't play a lot of these classes. But essentially, because of the recent nerfs and everything, not all of these classes are still here. So I'm going to take away a lot of the ones that are no longer here. So you see that all that's really left on the favorite side is going to be the Zoo, Token Druid, kinda. I mean, some people are still trying to experiment it with Yogg being nerfed, but for the most part, we're kind of seeing it fade away, and then we're actually seeing Ramp Druid come back. I didn't edit that yet because I'm not fully sure on where that is. If Ramp Druid actually starts becoming more and more popular with Cthulhu Druid, the old Cthulhu Druid deck becoming more popular, this deck is probably going to struggle a little bit. And I'll get into that later actually with the specific Druid matchups. Mid-Range Hunter, again, kind of not seen on ladder. Yes, Call of the Wild did get nerfed to 9 mana, but that's not too huge of a hit for them. They just supplement Rag into the 8 mana spot and then shove that into the 9 mana spot, and they still hit a pretty decent curve. Aggro Warrior is pretty much non-existent. I've seen some variants of it. I don't know if that's just me personally grinding these couple days. I've been seeing some variants of it. Tempo, I've still seen Dragon Warrior. Control Warrior, despite Execute going to 2 mana, they still have the best card in the game, and it's going to be Fiery War Axe, so yes, it's still around. And I guess what you can probably see, which is really cool, is that Aggro Shaman's gone. Because of the Rockbiter nerfs, Tuskar, yeah, that's actually it. Because of those 2 nerfs, I haven't seen Aggro Shaman at all. I don't think I've seen a single Aggro Shaman. But with that being said, I've seen Mid-Range Shaman, and Mid-Range Shaman is probably the most dominant deck in the meta right now. It's so decimating because it's still the whole curve of 4 mana 7/7s and blah 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 blah. All that more I'm going to get into, like I said, when I go into like the specific matchups. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and go into the specific matchups of Shaman and exactly what happened. So let's go ahead. Let's look at Shaman. So for the most part, first one I can look at is Rockbiter. Yes, Rockbiter got nerfed. Rockbiter is no longer there. Doomhammer is not really a problem anymore, and you're not really getting bursted by Alakir from Rockbiter. You're still getting bursted from Alakir from the mid-range Shamans using like Flame Tongue Totems and everything, but they don't have as much as a burst, right? So Shaman got nerfed, yay, yay! But we're still seeing a lot more of it. And so then the next one would be the Tuskar nerf, and you're sitting there thinking, oh, Tuskar got nerfed, Shaman is dead. No. It's essentially the same thing. Yes, it's a beautiful nerf, and I do like it. I love Tuskar Totemic personally myself because I thought it was a really cool card, and I like the dangerous roll. You can see from this deck that I like RNG, but there's a certain amount of it that I do like. And I'll get to more when I get to Yogg. But Tuskar Totemic and everything, for the most part, summon a random basic totem, nerfed it to a point where their early game isn't as strong. But because their early game wasn't as strong because of the nerfs, but guess what? They just gave them this card, Spirit Claws. They just gave Shaman Spirit Claws. So this is something you really have to worry about as this deck. So when you're playing this Discolock and you're trying to curve out with your 1/3s and your 3/2s, and this gets on the field and they get a spell damage with maybe Thalnos or even a totem for the 1 in 4 chance, it decimates your early game. And your early game is really what you have, because that's how you win. Without your early game, you have no way of taking care of things like the Faceless. You cannot just take care of this 4 mana 7/7. It's huge. We have no threats of it, and if we start wasting Soul Fires on this, we're not going to win. That's why mid-range Shaman's just horrible for us. And it's not even just that. There's another one I don't think I included in this list. The thing from below that loses a cost every time you summon a totem. Granted, yes, Tuskar Totemic's still gone, but still just the sheer power of hero power still makes it great. Like, you're even discounting it twice can make the card amazing. So essentially that is still better. There's still things like Lightning Storm that just wreck us. Getting a good Lightning Storm on turn 3 and you can high roll it, say if they even have a spell damage on the field, which you should not let happen. This is one of the few instances where you try to pull less aggro and just try to actually clear their board so they don't stick. That can screw us over. This is why mid-range Shaman is hard for us. These are the cards that you need to watch out for. Try to play around it. Maybe keep more in your hand to discard for later. It's just something you have to play with experience. It's something you have to work with. Another really strong one is going to be the Tunnel Trog. Tunnel Trog, if it gets on the field, and that's why we have our 3/2s and everything, and hopefully they don't curve into their 3/4 and we curve into our 4/3. Their cards match up. You see how they match up to our cards? Even Spear Claws can take us out while that still lives. No longer Rockbiter, but they still have Lightning Bolt. I think that is what it is. Maybe I'm thinking Magic. Sorry, I just can't remember right now. Yeah, and Tunnel Trog can get really out of hand when you have no real way to answer it besides like a Soulfire, and you're playing RNG because maybe you might just start a Civil War Golem and then you're ahead, but then they might Lightning Bolt that, or have their 3/4 trade into it. It's like really weird that their 2 mana trades so well with all of our minions. It really does hurt, but it's something you kind of have to live with. I mean, that's just where Shaman is right now, and something that we kind of have to accept. There's going to be some more tweaks that have to happen to Shaman until it's going to stop being the top class. But until then, you can still have fun, like I showed you. You can still have fun with an alternate deck and grind a legend. And so simply, now that we're done with Shaman, I think we're going to go ahead and focus on Warrior. So Warrior did receive some nerfs, so we're going to go ahead and look at the first nerf that Warrior's so execute. With this is huge. This is one of the reasons why this deck sucked, kind of. Just executing Doomguard. It's a lot harder to do it now, or just executing the Councilman and then just trying to get rid of your threats at 1 mana. It was a lot easier to pull off than it is at 2 mana. With that being said, though, it's still usable and it's not horrible. So I mean, it's still there, it's still something you need to watch out for, but Warrior has taken a pretty decent hit in that terms of that. Another one that really sucked for us was the OTK deck. So we'll go ahead and look at the OTK card charge. Charge has been changed so that way you can only give a friendly minion charge and it can't attack a hero. So nobody's playing OTK decks in that regard. But that isn't why we lost to OTK decks, is because of the actual mechanic of them killing us in 1 turn. We lost OTK decks because of this single card right here, Ravaging Ghoul. Ravaging Ghoul destroys us. Ravaging Ghoul on top of like the Pyro and everything else. This is just such a good card for Warrior when they already had such a great card that we're about to go over next, and somehow they still have it, and this is a card to watch out for. Now the fact that Execute has been gone, it's a lot less damaging for this deck, and we're also not running the Portal Imps thing, where it summon all the imps. We're not running that, so not Portal, that's Karzakhan. Excuse me. I'll remember, I'll edit it in exactly which card I'm talking about. For some reason I can't remember it right now. The one that summons all the 1/1 imps, when I was devastating because we're not running that card essentially. And so for the most part, it doesn't do as much, but it's still a strong card because it was paired with Execute. Not so much anymore. And then secondly, this card, Fiery War Axe. Fiery War Axe ends our early game. Gets rid of our imps, it gets rid of our succubus, and it's usually a 2-for-1 trade, and it's just a bad day for us. That's why Control Warrior was a little bit on the bad side. Now with Tempo Warrior and when Aggro Warrior used that as removal, they're just taking more face damage from us, which is great because they usually can't heal it off. But when Control Warrior does it, it sucks because they usually can heal it off by turn 7 by gaining 10 armor, or by turn 3 by gaining 5 armor and drawing a card. It just feels like an uphill battle going against Control Warrior. The other classes of Warrior, the other variants of decks are a lot easier if they use this card, simply because they're actually sacrificing their own damage or their own health to try to clear our board. But because we can actually get a pretty decent presence up, we can usually win. And usually they're not running Brawl, and so they can't really get rid of our board right before we Doomguard. So when we Doomguard, we're packing a huge punch. It's just in a control deck, this card is completely broken, and then in a tempo deck, it doesn't really hurt us that much. Secondly, I feel like this card's actually going to make a comeback. So a lot of people don't know it, and I'll probably might be one of the next decks I experiment with. Is going to be the Grim Patron deck, because I do think this card's going to make a comeback, but essentially this deck will ruin us. We don't necessarily have a lot of 1 health minions, but just the sheer factor that once these guys get on the board, we will never be able to get back on the board. And if this deck comes back, all the removal and whirlwind effects that ruin Zoo or ruin this deck type in general, ruin aggro decks with armor smiths and everything, they're also going to come back. So if this card starts making a comeback, this deck is dead. But it's something you have to watch out for. I'll probably experiment with it, and that might be my next upload video. We'll see. I do really love Patron. The Patron was the first deck I took to Legend. And with all that being said, though, I think the biggest one, like I said, is just not, this one was one, but not that one, but Fiery War Axe. Just watch out for Fiery War Axe and see what all it can do. So we're going to go ahead and switch over now to Druid. So, Druid's a little bit funny. Druid sucks, I guess. This is like how I would put it. I don't think Druid's good. I don't think any of the variants of Druid have been good since the nerf, honestly. But Druid can do good things. Druid only survived recently because they relied on Yogg-Saron. And now that Yogg-Saron has been nerfed, Druid in theory has been nerfed. I know Cthulhu Druid was a thing, and I knew Cthulhu Druid was strong, but it wasn't that strong, you know? It wasn't consistent. It got really shit on by aggro unless by turn 6, and we're trying to look to kill him by turn 5. Turn 6 they dropped the Dark Void, I think, or this 5/7 with taunt and everything. And then they start dropping the taunts on turn 7. They're starting hitting their power cards, their Cthulhu cards, but it's not letting them get to that point kind of thing is where we strive with. They did get a little bit of boost, but yeah, like I was saying, Yogg-Saron being dead essentially made Token Druid horrible, and now they're trying to switch over to a ramp style. And then with that, another great card that they got was Fandral. Fandral isn't necessarily, like, I guess on paper you can look at it and it's just like, it's okay. But when fundamentally, this was the card that Druid needed to push them so they're not like priest tier during this standard set right now. This was a very great card for them because it has so much utility, and if they can get this on the field and get 2 effects off of it, they will be solid. They'll be golden. They're coming back into the game, or they're dominizing and stabilizing the game, or setting a board state. It can be amazing what they can do with it. It worked a lot better in Token Druid. I'm expecting to see how it's going to work in the new ramp Druids coming out and everything, but I feel like this card itself can have a place in any Druid deck. And so this is another card that you have to kind of worry about and everything, because it's going to be there and it's going to be threatening. But the 2 biggest threatening ones from Druid are going to be Swipe. Swipe, just essentially how Swipe is, deal 4 damage to 1 minion and then 1 damage to all the others. Paired with maybe spell power, this can ruin our deck. Or this essentially can just be very, very strong against our deck. Zoo has always been favored against Druid, but you have to remember we're not super Zoo, right? We're more or less aggro. So we don't have that super board presence that they have. So if they can get us off the board and get bigger minions on the board using their ramp, they can win. That's something to worry about. We're still kind of favored, still kind of not. It's something you have to just play around, because if they can get rid of our board, we lost. Because we have no way of getting rid of their like late game threats like Ancient of War. We have no way of getting through Ancient of War at all. If they drop Ancient of War, it's probably pretty good just to concede, honestly. Discolock has no defense against this, no way to stop it. I'm thinking about maybe taking in a Crazy Alchemist if Ramp Druid becomes more popular, but right now I'm not going to do that. But yeah, that's kind of essentially what to watch out for. And then back to Yogg-Saron, it's the same thing that happened with Mage. Mage is crappy. I mean, let's just think about it. Since Standard came, we lost Freeze Mage, which was one of my favorite decks. And then the only reason why Tempo Mage is a thing is because Yogg-Saron. I mean, yes, Hot Form did take it to rank 1 Legend, and congratulations to you, man. That was a beautiful deck, and it's fun. I love playing it. It was really fun. But the only reason why it was like, it made it just far enough was because Yogg-Saron. Now that Yogg-Saron is gone, not so much anymore. We're not, it doesn't have that push, it doesn't have that reach. So I don't think people are playing Mage. With that being said though, Mage against our deck, Tempo Mage against our deck, like for some reason, let's say Discolock becomes the new best deck on Tempo Storm, rank 1, it's beating Shamans, and we become the top tier deck, the best way to counter it is going to be Mage. Now that Mage deck will have horrible wins against anybody else, but it still decimates us because cards like Flame Waker, Arcane Missile, those are things you really have to watch out for, or else they're going to ruin this deck. It's going to hurt it. I'm just telling you guys a lot of the bad things about this deck can do, because essentially this deck isn't really that hard to play. I'm just being honest, it's a lot of RNG, maximizing your RNG, knowing your hand, knowing your style, and knowing what to discard and how to discard it. And knowing like essentially that if your damage rolls and everything, like so if you discard, like how can you win this turn by discarding Fisted Raxes? And if you don't win, what's the proper way to attack and what's the proper way to set up for this turn? Attack bonuses, not missing a single attack using your Councilman. Those are ways that you can still win with this deck. And essentially, what it is, I feel like this video you may be thinking like, wow, Sean, you told us a lot of negatives about this deck. I think it's probably the best way to learn. Learn what cards are strong in this meta. Learn what to watch out for. This deck isn't the best deck. This deck is fun, but I got to 686 Legend with it because I understood the meta around me. I understood exactly what was going on. I know that Ancient of War is a really hard card to play around, and I know that maybe if Ramp Druids really did start becoming popular, that this deck was just not going to make it. Again, with Mages, I knew that Yogg-Saron got nerfed, so I knew Mages weren't going to be on a ladder, so I'm like, oh wait, this deck can actually take off, because they have Frostbolt that take care of us, they have Flame Waker, they have Arcane Missiles. You're not going to win against that deck, but because they're gone right now, this deck may actually survive. Essentially, this deck is just a very aggro-based, fun deck of discarding and hitting RNG rolls and rolling dice, which is fun to me sometimes. And that's how this deck works out. You have to get really good damage rolls, and you have to know when to go face, and you have to know when to do board control, and you have to know when to transition. You have to know if soul firing the... Like, I remember one play, just I'm trying to think off the top of my head, sadly I don't have a recording of it. It was, I had a Succubus and a Soulfire, and essentially, you have to think to yourself, if I go Succubus now, and I discard the Soulfire, or if I go Soulfire and I discard the Succubus, which condition is worse? Like, which is better? Which order should I do it in? Essentially, what it came down to is that I would rather Soulfire now, because I had the Imp that draws me a card, and then Succubus, because I would prefer to keep my Imp alive and kill the Totem Golem versus just summoning my Succubus and possibly not killing that Totem Golem. Or using the coin before you actually play a card. There's things that you have to think through while playing that just will click together and start making sense when you start asking yourself which is the better play. And it's just more or less for fun. I did take it to Legend, and with this being said, I'm not saying it's like the best deck to take to Legend. It is really random, it can be frustrating, it can have great streaks, you can have bad streaks, but it is fun. That's what essentially the series is going to be about. It's going to be fun decks you can take to Legend. I plan on doing some cheap decks you can take to Legend, budget decks. I do have my EU account that I can play free to play on, everything. So essentially, that's stuff that you have to do, and that's stuff that you have to ask yourself about whenever you're playing this deck. So that's the end of the video. So I hope you guys did enjoy. This is the first episode of this series. Any feedback would be amazing. Any feedback would be tremendous for me. If you can let me know anything that would help me out, that would make me feel better about all of this, that would just give me better criticism. And I actually have a question for you. What would you like to see in the next episode? What would you like to see down there? Comment down in the bottom. Just go and let me know exactly what you would like to see about the new deck that I'm building. For the most part, I did say in the beginning, that I was going to be doing a giveaway. So let's go ahead and give an announcement to that. I actually have a link to the full giveaway video right there. And so essentially what I'm doing is I'm doing a giveaway. It's a Halloween giveaway in October 31st. I'm giving away a Sylvanas vinyl. Not this one exactly, but it will be a very similar replica off the Hearthstone Blizzard website. And it'll be boxed, it'll be brand new and everything. And then I'm not going to lift my keyboard because that'll be a huge mistake, but I have a Chroma keyboard, and I do plan on giving away a Chroma keyboard with it, but there are some rules and stipulations. Check the video for the full description on that. And the other thing I'm giving away is a Jack Skellington pillow and a t-shirt, a Halloween themed t-shirt. I was actually thinking about a Darkrai t-shirt because they have a crap ton of them at GameStop, and I think it's actually pretty cool. But a Darkrai t-shirt or just something Halloween related, I plan on doing a giveaway, and then a $25 BNet gift card that you can use for anything World of Warcraft, Hearthstone. I don't necessarily know all the things you can purchase with it, but just for Battle.net. And you can do whatever you want with it. Buy packs, buy tons of packs. Maybe you can get that golden legendary that you were looking for. And essentially, that giveaway, all you have to do is go to a link, sign up, and you get entries for every subscription you do. Oh, excuse me, very sorry. Go and sign up, you get entries for every entry you do. So essentially, like, one entry is following me on Twitter, another entry is subscribing to the YouTube channel, another entry is following on Twitch, and those are all the things that you can do to get another entry into the giveaway. And speaking of which, I do stream every single day for at least 2 hours now because the internet is back up and the whole electricity is running and everything should be fine. I do stream for at least 2 hours every single day for you guys to check out. Come see me play these decks live, come see me get mad, or come see me have fun, deck build, anything. I do try to stream at least 2 hours a day because I am trying to start this whole content creation thing, and I hope you guys do love it. The more support I have, the more I can do for the community. That's about it. I think that's actually everything. I hit every point that I want to hit. So thank you. Thank you everybody for stopping by. Thank you for watching the video. Thank you if you really did like it. Please leave a like down at the bottom and please subscribe. It really helps me out. It helps bringing up my numbers and everything. If I ever look to get partnered with Twitch, please stop on by my Twitch channel. Like I said, I stream every single day. All the support really does help. And if you guys want to see more of this, go ahead and comment at the bottom and let me know what you want to see for episode 2. Thank you so much for coming out, and you have a wonderful, wonderful afternoon.